My name is Colin Tate, and I'm sitting in my kitchen at midnight, watching my wife Rachel text someone about football practice. If Coach Bradley Vance is teaching her passing routes at this hour, then I'm the Queen of England. The blue glow from her phone illuminates her face as she types furiously, that little smile playing at the corners of her mouth. The same smile she used to give me when we first started dating 15 years ago. Now it's reserved for someone else's playbook. Working late again? I ask, leaning against the granite counter we spent 3 months picking out last year. Rachel jumps, nearly dropping her phone. Colin, you scared me. I thought you were asleep. Hard to sleep when your wife is running drills in the kitchen. I pour myself a glass of water, keeping my voice casual. Everything okay with Ben's practice schedule? She sets the phone face down on the counter, but not before I catch a glimpse of the contact name, Coach B. How original. Just coordinating some extra training sessions. Ben really wants to make varsity next year. Rachel's voice has that practiced smoothness she uses with difficult clients at her marketing firm. Bradley thinks he has real potential. Bradley, not Coach Vance. Not even Coach Bradley. Just Bradley, like they're old college buddies sharing a beer. That's great, I say, though we both know Ben is 13 and varsity is still 2 years away. Must be some pretty intensive coordination to require midnight consultations. Rachel's eyes flash, and I see the exact moment she decides to flip the script. It's a move I've watched her perfect in countless business meetings. When cornered, attack. What's that supposed to mean? She stands up, crossing her arms. I'm trying to help our son succeed, and you're making it sound like some kind of conspiracy. I'm not making it sound like anything. I'm just wondering why football strategy requires such late-night attention. Maybe if you showed half as much interest in Ben's activities as Bradley does, you'd understand. The words hit their mark, and she knows it. When's the last time you even came to a practice? She's right, and that stings. My insurance brokerage has been demanding more hours lately, and I've missed too many practices, too many games. But that doesn't explain the secretive texts and the way her whole demeanor changes when Bradley Vance's name comes up. You're right, I admit. I should be more involved. Rachel's expression softens, probably thinking she's successfully redirected the conversation. I'm glad you understand. Ben looks up to Bradley so much. He's been such a positive influence. I nod, but something cold settles in my stomach. Not the coach, not Coach Vance. Bradley. Always Bradley. I'm going to bed, Rachel announces, grabbing her phone. Early meeting tomorrow. She kisses my cheek as she passes, and I catch a whiff of cologne that definitely isn't mine. Something expensive, with notes of cedar and bergamot. The kind of scent a successful high school coach might wear to impress the parents. After she disappears upstairs, I stand in the kitchen thinking about trust and football and the way my wife's face lights up when she talks about our son's coach. Outside, October wind rattles the windows of our colonial home, and I realize that somewhere along the way, I've become a stranger in my own life. The next morning brings coffee, awkward small talk, and the usual rush to get Ben ready for school. My son sits at the breakfast table, shoveling cereal and scrolling through his phone. Dad, can you drive me to practice today? Ben asks without looking up. Mom said she might be late. Sure thing. I glance at Rachel, who's applying lipstick with unusual care for a Tuesday morning. Where's practice again? Same place it's been for 2 months, Rachel says, her reflection meeting my eyes in her compact mirror. The high school fields. Right, of course. Ben finally looks up from his phone. Coach Bradley says I'm improving my footwork. He's been giving me extra pointers. That's great, buddy. What kind of pointers? Just technique stuff. He says I have natural talent, like he did when he played college ball. Ben's eyes shine with admiration. Did you know he almost made it to the pros? I didn't know that, but I'm sure Rachel does. Sounds like quite a guy. He is, All the guys think he's awesome, and the moms love him too. Ben grins. Mrs. Henderson says he's the best coach the team's ever had. Mrs. Henderson isn't the only mom who's noticed Bradley Vance, apparently. That afternoon, I leave the office early and drive to the high school. The practice field sits behind the main building, surrounded by chain-link fence and autumn maples dropping their leaves like confetti. I park near the bleachers and watch the boys run drills. Bradley Vance is everything I expected and worse. Tall, broad-shouldered, with graying temples that somehow make him look distinguished rather than old. He moves across the field with the confidence of someone who's never doubted his place in the world, calling out instructions and encouragement in equal measure. The boys hang on his every word. Even from 50 yards away, I can see their respect, their eagerness to please. Ben is right there in the thick of it, trying harder than I've ever seen him try at anything. I'm about to feel genuinely grateful for Bradley's influence on my son when I spot Rachel's silver BMW pulling into the parking lot. She gets out wearing a dress I've never seen before, navy blue, fitted, professional, but with just enough curve to catch attention. Her hair is down instead of in its usual work ponytail, and those heels are definitely not her usual commuter shoes. Rachel walks to the fence line, and I watch Bradley's reaction when he notices her. His whole posture changes. The casual authority becomes something more focused, more intense. He jogs over to where she's standing, and they talk through the chain link. I'm too far away to hear the conversation, but I don't need to. The body language tells the whole story. The way he leans in, the way she tilts her head and smiles, the way they both seem to forget there's a field full of teenagers behind them. Quite a show, isn't it? I turn to find a woman sitting on the bleachers beside me. Mid-30s, auburn hair, tired eyes that hold more intelligence than her casual mom outfit suggests. I'm sorry? The performance. She nods toward the fence. My husband and your wife, they've been perfecting that routine for weeks. My stomach drops. Your husband? Natalie Vance. She extends a hand. And you must be Colin. I've heard so much about you. I shake her hand, my mind racing. All good things, I hope. Oh, absolutely. Devoted father, successful businessman, works too many hours to pay attention to what's happening at home. Her smile is sharp enough to cut glass. Sound familiar? Down on the field, Bradley has returned to practice, but not before touching Rachel's hand through the fence. A brief contact that could be innocent if you weren't looking for it. How long have you known? I ask. Known? That's such a definitive word. Natalie watches her husband demonstrate a blocking technique. Let's say I've suspected for about 6 weeks. The late meetings, the new cologne, the sudden interest in team-building activities. And you haven't confronted him? Have you confronted her? I think about last night's kitchen conversation, the way Rachel deflected and attacked in the same breath. Not exactly. Smart man, direct confrontation just drives them deeper underground. Natalie stands up, brushing off her jeans. But I'm tired of pretending I don't notice. Maybe it's time for a different strategy. She starts to walk away, then turns back. Colin, if you ever want to compare notes about coaching techniques, give me a call. She hands me a business card. I think we might have more in common than our spouses realize. After she leaves, I sit in the bleachers watching my son run drills under the guidance of a man who's apparently coaching more than football. The autumn air carries the sound of whistles and shouted instructions, the smell of cut grass and teenage ambition. When practice ends, Ben jogs over to the fence where Rachel is waiting. I watch the three of them, my wife, my son, and the coach, form a little triangle of conversation. They look like a family. A happy, functional family with a successful father figure and an attentive mother. I look like the outsider. The guy in the cheap suit sitting alone in the bleachers, watching other people live his life. My phone buzzes with a text from Rachel. Taking Ben for ice cream with some of the team. Don't wait up for dinner. No invitation, No suggestion that I might want to join my own son for ice cream, just a polite notification that I'm not needed. I drive home to an empty house and a frozen dinner, thinking about Natalie Vance's business card in my wallet, and the way she said compare notes like she was talking about something more than football statistics. Outside, the October wind picks up, rattling windows and scattering leaves across the lawn I spent last weekend raking. Inside, the house feels hollow, like a stage set waiting for the real actors to return. I pour myself a scotch and sit in my den, surrounded by the trophies and photographs that used to mean something. High school football captain, college scholarship, the picture of Rachel and me on our wedding day, both of us young and stupid and convinced we had it all figured out. Now I'm pushing 40, running a mid-tier insurance business, and my wife is getting coached by another man while I sit home eating microwaved pasta. But maybe that's about to change. Maybe it's time to stop watching from the bleachers and get back in the game. I pull out Natalie's card and stare at the phone number. Tomorrow, I think. Tomorrow I'll make that call. Tonight, I'll just sit here and plan my comeback. I call Natalie Vance the next morning from my office after my third cup of coffee and a sleepless night of staring at the ceiling. I was wondering when you'd call, she says without preamble. Ready to compare those notes? We meet at Murphy's Diner on Route 9, far enough from town to avoid the usual crowd of soccer moms and high school staff. Natalie is already in a corner booth when I arrive, nursing a cup of coffee and looking like she hasn't slept much either. You look terrible, she says, as I slide into the seat across from her. Thanks, you're quite the charmer yourself. She laughs, and I notice how it transforms her face. Without the tired, suspicious expression she wore at the bleachers, Natalie Vance is actually quite attractive. Not in Rachel's polished, professional way, but with a natural warmth that seems genuine. Sorry, I've been practicing my honesty lately. It's refreshing after months of pretending everything's fine. She signals the waitress for another coffee. So, Colin Tate, tell me what you know. I start with the late-night texts, the new cologne, the way Rachel's whole personality shifts when Bradley's name comes up. Natalie listens without interrupting, occasionally nodding or making small sounds of recognition. Your turn, I say when I finish. Natalie pulls out her phone and scrolls through a series of screenshots. New workout routine that requires him to shower at the school instead of coming home. Parent conferences that run until 9 p.m. Team dinners that somehow never include the coach's wife. She shows me a photo of a credit card statement. Flowers charged to our joint account, delivered to someone who isn't me. Did you check where they went? Rachel Tate, Marketing Solutions, Inc. Natalie's smile is arctic. Congratulations. Your wife received 24 roses on your anniversary. From my husband. The coffee tastes like ash in my mouth. Our anniversary was 3 weeks ago. I know. I checked. She puts the phone away. Bradley came home that night with some story about a team celebration. Said he was sorry he was late, but the boys had won a big game. Did they? They lost, 14-7. We sit in silence for a moment, letting the weight of confirmed suspicions settle between us. Around us, the diner hums with normal conversation. Farmers talking about the weather, retirees complaining about their medications, teenagers planning weekend parties, people with ordinary problems. So what do we do now? I ask. That depends. How angry are you? I think about Rachel's dismissive tone when she talks about my work, the way she's been staying late more and more often, the credit card charges I've been too trusting to question, the ice cream invitation that never came. Pretty angry, I admit. Good. Anger is useful. It keeps you focused. Natalie leans forward. But we need to be smart about this. Direct confrontation will just make them more careful. We need evidence. What kind of evidence? The kind that stands up in divorce court. The kind that makes sure we don't get painted as the paranoid, neglectful spouses who drove our partners into someone else's arms. She's thought about this more than I have, And I realize Natalie Vance is probably a lot smarter than her husband gives her credit for. Bradley is used to dealing with teenage boys and starstruck parents. He's not prepared for someone who thinks 3 moves ahead. I have a friend who might be able to help, I tell her. Dan Morrison. He used to be a cop. Now he does private investigation work. Perfect. I have something better. Natalie grins. I have access to Bradley's laptop password and a key to his office at school. You want to break into the school? I want to retrieve evidence of my husband's inappropriate conduct with a parent. There's a difference. The way she says it makes me think Natalie has missed her calling. She should have been a lawyer instead of a coach's wife. When? Tonight. There's a faculty meeting until 8. Then Bradley always goes to Murphy's pub with the other coaches. We'll have at least 2 hours. I should say no. I should suggest we hire professionals, consult attorneys, take the high road. Instead, I hear myself saying, what do you need me to do? Be my lookout, and bring a camera. That evening, I tell Rachel I'm working late on a difficult claim. She barely looks up from her phone when I kiss her goodbye, just murmurs something about having dinner with her sister Lisa. I meet Natalie in the high school parking lot at 8:30. She's dressed in dark jeans and a black sweater, looking like she's done this before. Faculty meeting just ended, she says, checking her phone. Bradley texted that he's heading to Murphy's. We're clear. The school feels different at night, larger, more ominous, full of shadows and echoing hallways. Natalie leads me through corridors lined with trophy cases and student artwork, moving with the confidence of someone who's attended countless school functions. Bradley's office is on the 2nd floor, next to the gymnasium. Natalie produces a key ring and opens the door without hesitation. How did you? I've been the dutiful coach's wife for 8 years. I know where he keeps everything. She flicks on a small flashlight. Check the door. Let me know if you hear anyone coming. The office is exactly what you'd expect. Team photos, motivational posters, a desk covered with playbooks and practice schedules. But Natalie goes straight to the filing cabinet in the corner. Locked, she mutters, then pulls out a small screwdriver. Good thing I paid attention when Bradley fixed the kitchen drawer last month. You know how to pick locks? YouTube University, very educational. The lock clicks open. Here we go. Inside the filing cabinet, beneath folders of team rosters and budget reports, Natalie finds a manila envelope marked personal. She opens it carefully, and I hear her sharp intake of breath. What is it? She hands me a stack of printed emails. I scan the first few lines and feel my stomach clench. Rachel, last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about your hands on my... I don't need to read the details, I interrupt. Yes, you do. Natalie's voice is hard. We both do. Because this is evidence, and evidence has to be complete. She's right, but it doesn't make it easier. I photograph each email while Natalie searches the rest of the office. The messages span 6 weeks, starting with innocent discussions about Ben's progress and escalating to explicit descriptions of hotel room encounters. My wife, the woman I've shared a bed with for 15 years, writing things to another man that she's never said to me. Colin, Natalie's voice is tight, you need to see this. She's holding a small digital camera, the kind coaches use to review game footage. The display shows a timestamp from last Tuesday, the same day Rachel said she was working late on a client presentation. On the tiny screen, I can see Rachel and Bradley in what looks like a hotel room. She's wearing the red dress I bought her for our anniversary. Turn it off, I say. Colin, turn it off. Natalie clicks the camera shut and puts it back where she found it. We work in silence for the next few minutes, photographing documents and replacing everything exactly as we found it. As we're leaving the office, Natalie touches my arm. I'm sorry you had to see that. Are you? Sorry, I mean. She considers the question. No. I'm sorry it's happening, but I'm not sorry we know. Ignorance might be bliss, but it's also stupid. We walk back through the empty hallways, our footsteps echoing off polished floors. Outside, the parking lot is empty except for our cars and a few security lights casting long shadows. What now? I ask. Now we plan our next move. But Colin? Natalie stops beside her car. When this is over, they're going to hate us. Both of them. Are you prepared for that? I think about Ben, about the custody battles and divided holidays that lie ahead, about the house we'll have to sell and the life we'll have to rebuild, about sitting in empty bleachers while my son plays football and pretends his father doesn't exist. Yeah, I say. I'm prepared. Good. Because it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. She drives away, leaving me alone in the parking lot with a phone full of evidence and a marriage that officially ended the moment I saw that timestamp. At home, Rachel is already in bed, or pretending to be. I sit in my den with a scotch and scroll through the photographs on my phone, reading my wife's words to another man by the light of my computer screen. Tomorrow, I'll call Dan Morrison. Tomorrow, I'll start building a case. Tonight, I'll just sit here and plan the end of my marriage. But as I stare at the evidence of Rachel's betrayal, I realize something unexpected. I'm not just angry anymore. I'm excited. For the first time in months, I have a purpose, a plan, a reason to get up in the morning. Rachel and Bradley think they're playing a game where only they know the rules. They're about to discover they're wrong. Dan Morrison looks exactly like what central casting would order for an ex-cop turned private investigator. Graying hair, skeptical eyes, and the kind of solid build that suggests he can still handle himself in a fight. We meet at his office above a sandwich shop downtown, where the smell of pastrami mingles with stale coffee and old cigarettes. So your wife is having an affair with your kid's football coach, Dan says, reviewing the photos on my phone. And his wife wants to help you catch them. This sounds like the setup for a bad country song. Can you help us or not? Oh, I can help. Question is whether you really want me to. Dan leans back in his chair. See, Colin, most people think they want the truth until they get it. Then they wish they'd stayed ignorant. I've already seen enough to know what's happening. You've seen evidence of an affair, but affairs are like icebergs. What you can see is just the tip. You sure you want to know how deep this goes? I think about Rachel's dismissive attitude, the way she's been rewriting our history to make me the neglectful husband who drove her away. I want to know everything. All right then, but this is going to cost you, and I'm not just talking about money. Dan opens a file drawer. Standard surveillance package runs $1,500 a week. That includes photo documentation, GPS tracking, financial investigation, and a detailed report suitable for court proceedings. GPS tracking? Little magnetic box goes under her car, tells us everywhere she goes and how long she stays. Very enlightening. Dan grins. Amazing how many client meetings happen at the Riverside Inn. The Riverside Inn? Hourly rates, discreet location, takes cash. Popular spot for the adulterously inclined. Dan makes a note. I'm guessing that's where your boy Bradley has been conducting his extra coaching sessions. The idea of Rachel at some seedy motel makes my stomach turn, but I nod. What else do you need? Access to financial records, phone bills, credit card statements, anything that shows a pattern of deception. Dan taps his pen against the desk. And I'll need to coordinate with the coach's wife. If we're going to build a case, we need to work together. Natalie. Right. She sounds like she's got her head screwed on straight. Most people in this situation get emotional, make mistakes. But if she's thinking strategically, we might be able to give your cheating spouses a very unpleasant surprise. Dan explains the process: surveillance, documentation, building a timeline that establishes the affair beyond any reasonable doubt. It's methodical, professional, and completely at odds with the soap opera drama playing out in my head. One more thing, Dan says as I'm getting ready to leave. Once we start this, there's no going back. You sure you don't want to try marriage counseling first? Maybe have a heart-to-heart with your wife? She had 6 weeks to have a heart-to-heart with me. Instead, she chose to have other things with Bradley Vance. Fair enough. I'll start tomorrow. That evening, I sit in my den pretending to work while Rachel gets ready for another late meeting. She's been having a lot of those lately, I realize. Funny how I never noticed the pattern before. Don't wait up, she calls from the hallway. This client is demanding, but the commission will be worth it. What client? There's a pause. Peterson Industries. They're launching a new product line. I make a mental note to have Dan check whether Peterson Industries actually exists. Rachel kisses my cheek as she leaves, and I catch that same expensive cologne scent. Bradley's signature fragrance is becoming as familiar as my own aftershave. After she's gone, I call Natalie. How did it go with your investigator? She asks. He's starting surveillance tomorrow. What about you? I had an interesting conversation with Bradley tonight. Asked him about his late nights at school, told him I was worried he was working too hard. Natalie's voice carries a hint of satisfaction. He was very reassuring. Told me all about his dedication to the team, his commitment to helping struggling students. Struggling students? Apparently Ben needs extra attention. Bradley is personally invested in his development. The sarcasm in her voice could cut glass. Such a devoted coach. Did you believe him? I believed that he's gotten very good at lying. But Colin, I found something else today. Something that changes things. My grip tightens on the phone. What? I'll show you tomorrow. Can you meet me for lunch? Somewhere private? We arranged to meet at a small cafe outside town, and I spend the rest of the evening wondering what else Natalie has discovered. How much worse can this get? The next day, I find out. Natalie is waiting in a corner booth, looking like she hasn't slept. She slides a manila folder across the table as soon as I sit down. Bank statements, she says. From an account I didn't know Bradley had. I open the folder and scan the first page. Regular deposits, always in cash. Always for the same amount, $500. Where's this money coming from? That's what I wondered. So I did some digging. Natalie pulls out another set of papers. Turns out Bradley has been offering private coaching services to several families, off the books, cash only. That's not unusual. Lots of coaches do private training. Look at the names of his clients. I scan the list and feel my stomach drop. Every name belongs to a parent I recognize from team functions. Every name belongs to a mother, specifically. And every mother is attractive, well off, and married to a man who works long hours. He's not just having an affair with Rachel, I realize. No, he's running a whole operation, private coaching sessions that have nothing to do with football. Natalie's voice is flat, emotionless. My husband isn't just a cheater, he's a predator. The implications hit me like a truck. This isn't just about my marriage anymore. This is about a man in a position of trust, systematically exploiting the families who depend on him. How many? I ask. At least 6 that I can prove. Maybe more. Natalie closes the folder. Colin, if we expose this, it's going to destroy more than just our marriages. It's going to tear apart the entire team, the whole community. And if we don't expose it, he keeps doing it. Exactly. We sit in silence, both of us understanding that we've moved beyond personal revenge into something much larger and more complicated. Around us, the cafe buzzes with normal conversation, people dealing with ordinary problems like work deadlines and weekend plans. What do you want to do? I ask. I want to burn his whole world down, Natalie says quietly. But I want to do it smart. I want to make sure he can never do this again, to anyone. Then we need more than just photos and bank statements. We need testimony. From the other wives? From the other wives? Natalie nods slowly. That's going to be tricky. These women have reputations to protect, families to think about. They're not going to want to admit they were involved with Bradley. Maybe they don't have to admit it. Maybe they just have to confirm that he offered services that went beyond coaching. You think any of them will talk? I think about the women I've seen at team functions, the way they cluster around Bradley, the subtle competition for his attention that I'd dismissed as harmless flirtation. I think some of them might be relieved to discover they weren't the only ones. We spend the next hour planning our approach. Natalie will reach out to the women on Bradley's client list, carefully, subtly, feeling out their willingness to cooperate. I'll work with Dan to document everything we can about Bradley's pattern of behavior. This is going to take time, Natalie warns, and it's going to get messy. I've got time, and I'm already messy. She laughs, and again I notice how it changes her whole face. You know, Colin, under different circumstances, I think we might have been friends. Who says we can't be friends under these circumstances? Because when this is over, we're both going to be divorced, bitter, and probably broke. Not exactly the foundation for a healthy friendship. Maybe, or maybe we'll be free to build something better. Natalie studies my face. Are you flirting with me, Colin Tate? Maybe a little. Good. Because when we destroy our spouses, I want them to see exactly what they lost. I drive back to work with a new sense of purpose. This isn't just about catching Rachel and Bradley anymore. It's about stopping a pattern of exploitation and abuse. It's about protecting the other families who don't know they're being manipulated. And maybe, just maybe, it's about finding something real with someone who understands what betrayal feels like. That evening, Rachel comes home early for once, full of enthusiasm about a new project at work. She's animated, energetic, more like the woman I married than she's been in months. Peterson Industries loved the presentation, she says, opening a bottle of wine. They want to move forward with the full campaign. I almost ask her to describe the presentation, but I catch myself. Let Dan's investigation confirm what I already know. For now, I'll just smile and nod and pretend I believe her. That's great, honey. You've been working so hard lately. It's paying off, though. This could be a huge opportunity for the firm. Rachel pours herself a generous glass of wine. And for us, the commission alone will cover Ben's college fund. Speaking of Ben, how's he doing with his extra coaching sessions? Really well. Bradley says he's showing real improvement. Rachel's face lights up when she mentions Bradley's name. He's such a dedicated coach. Ben is lucky to have someone who cares so much about his development. Very lucky. You should thank him sometime. Maybe we could have him and Natalie over for dinner. The idea of sitting across a dinner table from Bradley Vance, making small talk while he mentally undresses my wife, makes me want to throw my wine glass against the wall. Sure, I say instead. That sounds nice. I'll set something up. It'll be good for Ben to see his parents supporting his coach. Rachel curls up next to me on the couch, and for a moment, it almost feels like old times. She's warm and familiar, smelling like the perfume I bought her last Christmas instead of Bradley's cologne. But then her phone buzzes, and I see the way her eyes immediately dart to the screen, the way she angles it away from me as she reads the message, the way her whole body language shifts from relaxed to alert. Work? I ask, just confirming tomorrow's meeting. She sets the phone aside, but I can tell part of her attention is still focused on whatever message she received. Later, after Rachel falls asleep, I lie in the dark, thinking about patterns and lies, and the way people can share a bed for 15 years and still be strangers. Tomorrow, Dan will start his surveillance. Tomorrow, Natalie will begin reaching out to the other wives. Tomorrow, we'll start building the case that will end both our marriages and possibly destroy a man who's been abusing his position for years. But tonight, I'll just lie here next to my wife and mourn the relationship we used to have before football coaches and private sessions and expensive cologne changed everything. Outside, the October wind rattles the windows, and I realize this might be one of the last peaceful nights I have for a long time. Starting tomorrow, everything changes. Dan calls me at work 3 days later, his voice carrying the satisfaction of a hunter who's found fresh tracks. Your wife has interesting taste in lunch spots, he says without preamble. Riverside Inn, every Tuesday and Thursday, 12:30 to 2:15. Very punctual. I close my office door and sink into my chair. You saw them together? Oh, I saw them all right. Got photos, video, license plate confirmations, the whole package. Dan's voice turned serious. Colin, I've been doing this for 8 years and I've never seen anything quite like this. What do you mean? Your boy Bradley runs his operation like a business. Different women, different days, same time slots. Tuesday, Thursday is Rachel. Monday, Wednesday appears to be Jennifer Morrison. You know her? I know her. Team mom, married to a surgeon, always volunteers for fundraising events. You're sure? Positive ID. And Friday afternoons seem reserved for a rotating cast of characters. This guy has a schedule that would make a corporate executive jealous. The scope of Bradley's operation hits me like a physical blow. This isn't just an affair, it's systematic exploitation on a scale I hadn't imagined. How many women are we talking about? At least 8 that I can confirm, probably more. Dan pauses. Colin, this is bigger than divorce court. This is criminal behavior, abuse of authority, possibly extortion if he's leveraging his position as coach. Extortion? Think about it. He controls playing time, team selection, college recommendations. These women have sons who want to succeed in football. Bradley holds all the cards. The implications make me feel sick. How many families has he manipulated? How many marriages has he destroyed? What's our next move? Document everything, build an airtight case, then decide whether we're talking to lawyers or law enforcement. Maybe both. Dan's voice hardens. This piece of garbage needs to be stopped. After I hang up, I sit in my office staring out at the parking lot, trying to process what I've learned. Rachel isn't just cheating. She's being manipulated by a predator who's turned coaching into a cover for systematic abuse. Part of me wants to confront her immediately, to warn her about what Bradley really is. But the larger part knows that direct confrontation will only drive them deeper underground and make it harder to protect the other families involved. My phone buzzes with a text from Natalie. Can you meet tonight? Important developments? We meet at a different cafe this time, farther from town, in a strip mall that's seen better days. Natalie is waiting with a cup of coffee and a grim expression. I talked to Jennifer Morrison today, she says as soon as I sit down. Very carefully, very subtly. Asked her about her son's private coaching sessions. What did she say? She got defensive, then suspicious, then scared. But Colin, she didn't deny it. She just kept saying that Bradley was helping Tommy with his confidence, that the sessions were perfectly innocent. Did you believe her? I believed that she's convinced herself they were innocent, but I also believed that she knows, deep down, that they weren't. Natalie pulls out her phone. Then I got this text an hour after I left her house. She shows me a message from an unknown number. We need to talk. Not about coaching, about Bradley. Can you meet tomorrow? Jennifer? Has to be. She's scared, Colin. I think she wants out but doesn't know how to get out without destroying her family. What did you tell her? That I'd meet her. Tomorrow afternoon, public place. Just 2 concerned mothers having coffee. Natalie's smile is sharp. By the time I'm done with her, she'll understand that she's not alone and that staying quiet isn't protecting anyone. Be careful. If Bradley finds out what we're doing, he'll what? Threaten us? Expose us? Natalie laughs, but there's no humor in it. Colin, we're not the ones with something to hide anymore. Bradley is the one who should be worried. She's right, but I can't shake the feeling that we're walking into dangerous territory. Men like Bradley Vance don't build elaborate deception schemes without also building defenses to protect them. Have you noticed any changes in his behavior? I ask. Anything that suggests he suspects something? Actually, yes. He's been more attentive lately, more affectionate, bringing me flowers, suggesting date nights, talking about taking a vacation together. Natalie's expression is disgusted. I think he's feeling guilty about something. Or maybe he's trying to make sure I don't start asking questions. What about Rachel? Any changes there? I think about the past few days. Rachel's unusual enthusiasm, her early nights home, the way she's been more physically affectionate than she's been in months. Same thing. She's been acting like the perfect wife. Cooking dinner, asking about my day, even suggesting we plan a weekend getaway. Guilty conscience? Or covering their tracks. Maybe they think if they're model spouses at home, no one will suspect what they're doing at the Riverside Inn. We sit in silence for a moment, both of us contemplating the elaborate lies our spouses have constructed. Around us, the cafe is nearly empty, just a few teenagers sharing a pizza and an elderly man reading a newspaper. Natalie, can I ask you something personal? After everything we've shared, I think personal questions are allowed. When did you stop loving him? Bradley, I mean. She considers the question, stirring her coffee absently. I'm not sure I ever really loved him. I loved the idea of him, successful coach, respected in the community, good with kids. I loved the life he represented. And now? Now I see what he really is. A manipulator who uses his authority to exploit vulnerable families. A man who built his reputation on other people's trust and then systematically betrayed that trust. Her voice hardens. Now I want to make sure he never has the opportunity to hurt anyone else. What about after? When this is all over, what do you want? Honestly, I want to disappear. Move somewhere no one knows me as Bradley Vance's wife. Start over. Build a life that's actually mine. She looks at me directly. What about you? I want Ben to understand that sometimes doing the right thing means making hard choices. I want him to see that his father isn't the kind of man who walks away from a fight. Even if fighting means losing everything? Especially then. Natalie nods slowly. You know, Colin, I think we're going to be okay. Both of us. When this is over, we're going to be okay. Think so? I know so, because we're not running away from the truth anymore. We're running toward it. The next evening, I'm working late in my den when Rachel comes home from another client dinner. She's slightly flushed, her lipstick gone, her hair just a little too perfect, like someone who spent time fixing her appearance in a car mirror. How was dinner? I ask, without looking up from my laptop. Productive. The Peterson account is really coming together. She kicks off her heels and sits on the arm of my chair. Sorry I'm so late. You know how these business dinners can run. Of course. Important to keep the clients happy. Exactly. Rachel runs her fingers through my hair, a gesture that used to be intimate but now feels calculated. I was thinking we should plan that dinner party soon, invite Bradley and Natalie, maybe a few other couples from the team. Sounds great. When were you thinking? Next weekend? I could make that roast you like, open some of the good wine. Rachel's voice carries forced enthusiasm. It would be nice to entertain again. We haven't had people over in months. I'll check my calendar. She kisses the top of my head and heads upstairs, leaving behind the faint scent of Bradley's cologne and the stronger smell of guilt. I sit in my den, thinking about dinner parties and deception, about the elaborate performance Rachel is planning where she'll play the devoted wife while entertaining the man she's been meeting at hourly rate motels. My phone buzzes with a text from Natalie. Jennifer confirmed everything. She's ready to talk. Tomorrow we start building our case. I respond. Ready when you are. Outside, the October wind has picked up again, rattling windows and scattering leaves across the lawn. Inside, the house feels like a stage set for a play where everyone knows their lines except me. But that's about to change. Tomorrow, Natalie and I start collecting testimony. Tomorrow, we begin building the case that will expose Bradley Vance for what he really is. Tomorrow, the game changes. Tonight, I'll just sit here and plan the next play. Jennifer Morrison looks like she hasn't slept in weeks. She sits across from Natalie and me in a corner booth at Denny's, clutching a coffee cup with shaking hands and glancing nervously at the door every few minutes. I shouldn't be here, she says for the third time since sitting down. If Bradley finds out I talked to you, Bradley isn't going to find out, Natalie says calmly. And even if he did, what could he do? You're not doing anything wrong by having coffee with friends. Friends? Jennifer laughs bitterly. Is that what we are? We're three people who've been lied to by the same man, I say. That makes us something. Jennifer studies my face, then Natalie's. How long have you known about Bradley and your wife? 6 weeks, I answer. How long have you been involved with him? 3 months, since the summer training camp. Jennifer's voice drops to a whisper. He said Tommy needed extra work on his blocking technique. Said he was personally invested in helping him succeed. And you believed him? I wanted to believe him. Tommy's not naturally athletic like some of the other boys. He works twice as hard for half the recognition. Jennifer wipes her eyes with a napkin. When Bradley offered private coaching, it felt like a miracle. When did the coaching become something else? Natalie asks gently. Jennifer is quiet for a long moment, staring into her coffee. The third session, Bradley said Tommy was improving but still needed confidence. Said the boy looked up to me so much that my confidence in the program would translate to his performance. What did that mean? It meant I should trust Bradley completely, support him unconditionally, show my appreciation for his dedication to Tommy's success. Jennifer's voice turns hollow. It meant Tuesday afternoons at the Riverside Inn. The pieces click together in my mind. Bradley's approach is sophisticated, psychological. He doesn't just seduce these women, he manipulates them into believing that their cooperation is essential for their son's success. Did he ever threaten Tommy's position on the team? I ask. Not directly, but he made it clear that his support could be withdrawn if I wasn't properly grateful for his help. Jennifer looks directly at me. Your wife, Rachel. She's not the only one, is she? No, there are others. I figured. Bradley has a type. Successful women married to busy men with sons who need his approval. Jennifer's laugh is bitter. We're all so desperate for our boys to succeed that we'll do anything to help them. Not anything, Natalie corrects. You didn't know what Bradley really was. None of you did. He's a predator who uses his position to exploit families. But I should have known. I should have seen what was happening. How could you? He's had years to perfect his technique. You're not the first family he's manipulated. And you won't be the last unless we stop him. Jennifer nods slowly. What do you need from me? Documentation. Dates, times, locations, any communications you have from Bradley, any evidence that shows the pattern of manipulation. I have text messages. Lots of them. Bradley is very detailed in his communications. Are you willing to provide those to an investigator? If it means stopping him from doing this to other families, yes. We spend the next hour going through Jennifer's story, documenting the timeline of Bradley's approach and the escalation of his demands. The pattern is clear and consistent. Identify vulnerable families, offer special help, create dependency, then exploit that dependency for personal gain. There's something else, Jennifer says as we're getting ready to leave. Bradley has been asking questions about you, Natalie. Wants to know if you've seemed suspicious lately, if you've been asking about his schedule. What did you tell him? That you seemed fine. But Colin, he asked about you too. Wanted to know if I'd seen you at any practices, if Rachel had mentioned you being more involved in team activities. A chill runs down my spine. He suspects something. Maybe. Or maybe he's just being careful. Jennifer gathers her purse. Either way, you need to watch yourselves. Bradley has a lot to lose if this comes out. Men like that don't go down quietly. After Jennifer leaves, Natalie and I sit in the parking lot discussing our next moves. The evidence is building, but we need more testimony to establish the full scope of Bradley's operation. Who else from his client list might be willing to talk? I ask. Sarah Chen seems like a possibility. Her son Michael has been getting a lot of playing time lately, but she's looked uncomfortable at team events. Natalie checks her phone. I could reach out to her, see if she's willing to have a conversation. What about going to the school administration? If we have enough evidence? Not yet. Bradley is popular with the administration, successful with the team. They'll want ironclad proof before they act against him. Natalie starts her car. We need more testimony, more documentation. We need to make this case so strong that no one can ignore it. How much time do we have? I don't know. But Colin, I think we need to be prepared for the possibility that Bradley will figure out what we're doing before we're ready to act. What happens then? Then things get ugly fast. That evening, I sit in my den reviewing the evidence Dan has collected. Photos of Rachel and Bradley entering and leaving the Riverside Inn. Credit card records showing payments for hotel rooms. Phone logs documenting calls and text messages at all hours. The case against my wife is airtight. The case against Bradley is growing stronger every day. But as I study the timeline of their affair, I realize something that makes my stomach clench. The dates don't just show when Rachel and Bradley started their relationship. They show when Rachel started lying to me systematically, professionally, without any apparent guilt or hesitation. This isn't just about physical infidelity, it's about the complete breakdown of trust between us. Rachel hasn't just been unfaithful, she's been living a double life with an expertise that suggests this might not be her first affair. My phone rings, interrupting my thoughts. Dan's number appears on the screen. We have a problem, he says without preamble. What kind of problem? The kind where your wife's boyfriend knows he's being watched. I was following them to their usual Tuesday appointment when Bradley made a sudden detour, doubled back, and parked where he could observe my vehicle. Did he see you? Oh, he saw me. Even waved. Dan's voice is grim. Colin, your boy Bradley isn't just a predator, he's a smart predator. He's been watching for surveillance. What does that mean for our investigation? It means we need to change tactics. No more direct surveillance. We work with the testimony we have and the evidence we've already collected. Is that enough? It better be, because the element of surprise is gone. Bradley knows someone is building a case against him. After I hang up, I sit in the dark thinking about chess games and football strategies and the way smart predators adapt when they sense danger. Bradley Vance knows he's being hunted. The question is what he'll do with that knowledge. Upstairs, Rachel is getting ready for bed, humming softly to herself like someone without a care in the world. But I know now that her casual demeanor is just another performance, another layer in the elaborate deception she's been constructing. Tomorrow, I'll call Natalie and tell her about Dan's discovery. Tomorrow, we'll decide whether to accelerate our timeline or risk losing our opportunity entirely. Tonight, I'll just lie here next to my wife and listen to her breathe, knowing that every breath is a lie and every heartbeat is counting down to the moment when her carefully constructed world collapses. Outside, the October wind has turned cold, carrying the promise of winter and the smell of fallen leaves. Inside, the game has changed again, and I'm not sure who's winning anymore. The call comes at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning, jarring me awake from restless dreams about football fields and empty hotel rooms. Colin? Natalie's voice is tight with controlled panic. Bradley's gone. I slip out of bed, careful not to wake Rachel, and take the call in my den. What do you mean, gone? I mean, he didn't come home last night. No text, no call, no explanation. His truck isn't in the driveway and half his clothes are missing from the closet. The implications hit me immediately. He's running. Or regrouping. Colin, I think he knows exactly how much we've discovered. I think he's been planning his exit strategy. What about the other women? Jennifer, Sarah Chen, the rest of his clients? I've been calling them since 5 a.m. Jennifer's phone goes straight to voicemail. Sarah Chen says she hasn't heard from Bradley in 2 days. Natalie's voice cracks slightly. Colin, I think he's cutting his losses and disappearing. What about Rachel? Is she... I turn toward the hallway and freeze. Rachel is standing in the doorway of my den, fully dressed, holding a suitcase. I have to go, I tell Natalie, hanging up before she can respond. Going somewhere? I ask Rachel. Emergency at work. Peterson Industries is having a crisis with their product launch. I need to fly to Chicago immediately. Rachel's voice has that practiced smoothness I've come to recognize as her lying tone. I'll probably be gone for 3 or 4 days. Funny. I just got off the phone with Natalie Vance. Seems Bradley has disappeared too. What a coincidence. Rachel's mask slips for just a moment, and I see something flicker in her eyes. Fear, calculation, defiance. Then, the professional smile returns. I don't know what you're implying, Colin, but I really don't have time for your paranoia right now. My flight leaves in 2 hours. Peterson Industries doesn't exist, Rachel. The words hang in the air between us like smoke from a gunshot. Rachel's hand tightens on her suitcase handle, but her expression doesn't change. Of course it exists. Don't be ridiculous. I had my investigator check. No Peterson Industries in Chicago or anywhere else for that matter. No client, no emergency, no product launch. I stand up, moving between Rachel and the door. Just like there was no late meeting last Tuesday, or the Tuesday before that, or any of the other Tuesdays you spent at the Riverside Inn with Bradley Vance. You had me investigated? Rachel's voice rises, and now I see real anger replacing the calculated calm. How dare you? How dare you violate my privacy like that? Your privacy? You've been having an affair for 2 months, and you're worried about privacy? I don't know what you think you know, but I know everything, Rachel. The hotel rooms, the text messages, the flowers he sent you on our anniversary. I know about his other clients, too. Jennifer Morrison, Sarah Chen, all the other team mothers he's been manipulating. Rachel's face goes pale. Other clients? You didn't know, did you? You thought you were special. You thought Bradley chose you because you were irresistible, not because you fit his profile for vulnerable targets. You're lying. Am I? Ask yourself why Bradley suddenly needs to leave town the same day I confront you. Ask yourself how many other emergency business trips he's taken when things got complicated. Rachel sets down her suitcase, and I see her hands are shaking. Colin, you don't understand. Bradley and you are nothing. You're a mark in his con game, Rachel. A married woman with a son on his team and a husband too busy to pay attention. You're exactly the type he targets. That's not true. He loves me. He loves the power. He loves manipulating successful women into thinking they need his approval. He loves the control. I pull out my phone and show her one of Dan's photos. Rachel and Bradley entering the Riverside Inn. This is what love looks like to Bradley Vance. Cheap hotel rooms and married women who think they're special. Rachel stares at the photo, and I watch 20 years of self-confidence crumble in real time. How long have you known? Long enough to document everything. Long enough to build a case that will destroy Bradley's career and probably land him in jail for abuse of authority. Jail? He's been systematically exploiting his position as coach to coerce relationships with team parents. That's criminal behavior, Rachel, and you're not his only victim. Rachel sinks into the chair across from my desk, her suitcase forgotten. I thought he cared about Ben, about helping him succeed. He cares about control. Ben was just the leverage he used to get to you. Oh, God. Rachel puts her head in her hands. What have I done? For a moment, I feel something like sympathy for my wife. She's been manipulated by an expert, targeted specifically because of her vulnerabilities. But then I remember the lies, the deception, the way she's been rewriting our marriage to justify her betrayal. You made choices, Rachel. Bradley may have manipulated you, but you chose to lie to me every day for 2 months. You chose to meet him at hotels. You chose to put our family at risk. I know, and I'm sorry. Colin, I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. What do you want me to do? I'll end it with Bradley. I'll never see him again. We can go to counseling, work through this. Bradley's already ended it. He's running, Rachel. Probably halfway to another state by now, looking for a new coaching job and a new set of victims. Then it's over. We can move past this. I look at my wife, really look at her, and realize that I don't feel anger anymore. I don't feel betrayal or hurt, or even disappointment. I feel nothing at all, which is somehow worse than any of the emotions I expected. No, Rachel, we can't move past this, because this isn't just about the affair, it's about who you are, who we are, what our marriage actually means. I made a mistake. You made 100 mistakes. Every text message, every lie, every time you came home smelling like his cologne and kissed me goodnight. Those weren't mistakes. Those were choices. Rachel starts crying, but even her tears feel calculated now. Please, Colin, we have Ben to think about. We have 15 years together. That has to count for something. It did count for something, right up until you decided it didn't. My phone buzzes with a text from Natalie. Found Bradley's truck at the airport. Long-term parking. He's definitely running. I need to go, I tell Rachel. When I get back, I want you gone. Stay at your sister's, get a hotel, I don't care. But I want you out of this house. Colin, please. The attorney's papers will be filed Monday morning. You can respond through your lawyer. I walk past her toward the door, then stop. Rachel, for what it's worth, I'm sorry too. Sorry that our marriage meant so little to you, that you threw it away for a man who saw you as nothing more than another conquest. I leave her crying in my den and drive to meet Natalie, thinking about endings and new beginnings and the strange relief that comes from finally knowing the truth. Behind me, the house that used to be my home grows smaller in the rearview mirror, and I realize I'm not planning to go back. Some games end with a final score. Others just end when one team walks off the field. Today, I'm walking off the field. The Riverside Inn looks smaller in daylight, seedier, like a movie set that only works with specific lighting. Natalie and I sit in her car in the parking lot, watching the cleaning crew service rooms that have hosted too many secrets. Bradley's truck was definitely at the airport, she says, showing me photos on her phone. Long-term parking, paid through the end of the month. Dan's contact at TSA confirmed he took a flight to Phoenix yesterday evening. Phoenix? Probably not his final destination. Bradley's smart enough to create a false trail. Natalie puts her phone away. The question is whether he's running permanently or just regrouping. What's the difference? If he's running permanently, we've won, but he's escaped justice. If he's regrouping, he'll be back with a new identity and a new coaching position, ready to start the whole cycle again. The thought of Bradley setting up shop in some unsuspecting community, targeting new families, makes my stomach turn. Can we track him? Dan's working on it. But Colin, even if we find him, what then? We don't have enough evidence for criminal charges, and he's no longer employed by the school district. What about the other women? Jennifer, Sarah Chen, the others? That's complicated. Jennifer is willing to testify about Bradley's behavior, but the others are scared. They have families to protect, reputations to consider. Natalie's voice turns bitter. Amazing how the victims end up being the ones with the most to lose. We sit in silence, both of us contemplating the incomplete nature of our victory. Bradley is gone, our marriages are over, but justice feels elusive. How did things go with Rachel? Natalie asks. She's staying at her sister's. The divorce papers will be filed Monday. I think about Rachel's tears, her promises to change, her sudden understanding of how thoroughly she'd been manipulated. Part of me feels sorry for her. Part of me feels sorry for Bradley's wife, the one he had before me, I mean. There was another wife? Oh, yes, divorced 3 years before I met him. I thought it was because she couldn't handle the demands of being a coach's wife. Natalie laughs bitterly. Turns out she probably discovered what Bradley really was. Did you contact her? I tried. She moved to Oregon, changed her name, started over completely. Her sister told me she never talks about her time with Bradley. Ever. The implications are chilling. How many communities has Bradley moved through? How many families has he destroyed? How many women are living with the shame and trauma of his manipulation? We have to find a way to stop him, I say. I know. But first, we have to figure out how to rebuild our own lives. Natalie is right. The immediate crisis is over, but the long-term consequences are just beginning. Divorce proceedings, custody arrangements, financial settlements, explaining to Ben why his father and his beloved coach have both disappeared from his life. What will you tell people? I ask. About Bradley, about the divorce. The truth. That my husband was systematically exploiting his position to manipulate team families. That he's a predator who used football as a cover for criminal behavior. Natalie's voice is steady, determined. I'm done protecting his reputation. That's going to cause a scandal. Good. Maybe a scandal will prevent him from getting another coaching job somewhere else. What about the other families? The ones who don't know their son's success came at the cost of their mother's exploitation? I've been thinking about that. I think we need to have a team meeting, parents only. Lay out what we know, give people the chance to come forward if they've been victimized. The school won't like that. The school should have been protecting these families in the first place. They hired Bradley without doing proper background checks. They created an environment where he could operate without oversight. Natalie's anger is controlled but intense. The school can deal with the consequences of their negligence. My phone rings. Dan Morrison's name appears on the screen. What have you got? I answer. Good news and bad news. Good news is Bradley Vance isn't his real name. Bad news is his real name is Brandon Vincent, and he's got a history. What kind of history? 2 previous coaching positions both ended abruptly. One in Texas, one in Florida. No criminal charges, but both schools quietly let him go mid-season. Dan's voice is grim. This guy's been running this scam for years. Can we prove it? I'm working on it. But Colin, there's something else. I found out why he left those other jobs. Tell me. Anonymous tips to school administrators. Someone's been tracking this guy, documenting his behavior, trying to stop him. Who? Don't know yet. But whoever it is has been one step behind Brandon, for at least 5 years. After I hang up, I share Dan's information with Natalie. Her expression grows more determined with each detail. Someone else is hunting him, she says. Someone who knows his pattern. Probably another victim. Maybe his ex-wife or someone from one of his previous schools. We need to find them. If they have documentation from his other positions, we might have enough evidence to build a real case. Dan's working on it. Good, because Colin, I've made a decision. I'm not just going to expose Bradley locally. I'm going to make sure every school district in the country knows what he is. How? Social media, coaching forums, parent networks. I'm going to make Brandon Vincent too toxic to hire anywhere. Natalie's smile is sharp as a blade. He wants to run? Fine. But he's going to run for the rest of his life. That's a big commitment. It could take years. I have years, and I have motivation. Natalie looks at the Riverside Inn, then back at me. Colin, what he did to us, to our families, to all those other women, it's not just personal anymore. It's a mission. What about rebuilding your own life? This is rebuilding my life. For the first time in 8 years, I have a purpose that's actually mine. We drive back toward town in comfortable silence, both of us lost in thought. The October landscape rolls past, bare trees, brown fields, the first hints of winter in the air. Everything looks different now, sharper somehow, like I'm seeing the world without filters for the first time in years. Natalie? Yes? When this is all over, when Bradley is stopped and the divorces are final and the dust settles, would you like to have dinner sometime? Somewhere that isn't a diner or a parking lot? She considers the question seriously. Are you asking me on a date, Colin Tate? I think I am. Then yes, I'd like that very much. Good, because I think we've earned the right to find out who we are when we're not defined by other people's lies. I'd like to find that out too. That evening, I sit in my empty house thinking about justice and revenge and the difference between the two. Outside, the October wind rattles windows and scatters leaves across the lawn I'll probably never rake again. Tomorrow, I'll start looking for a new place to live. Tomorrow, Natalie and I will begin planning our campaign to expose Bradley Vincent. Tomorrow, we'll take the first steps toward building something real from the wreckage of our marriages. Tonight, I'll just sit here in the quiet and appreciate the strange peace that comes from finally knowing the truth. My phone buzzes with a text from Ben. "Dad, can we talk tomorrow? I heard some things at school." I respond, "Of course, I'll pick you up after practice." Then I realize there won't be any practice tomorrow. Bradley is gone, the team is in chaos, and Ben's world has been turned upside down just like mine. But maybe that's not entirely a bad thing. Maybe it's time for all of us to stop pretending that football is the most important thing in our lives. Maybe it's time to focus on what actually matters: truth, integrity, protecting the people we love from predators who hide behind positions of authority. I text Ben back, "How about we skip practice and go to a movie instead? Just the two of us." His response comes immediately. "That sounds great, Dad." For the first time in months, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Outside, the wind dies down, and the house settles into silence. But it's not the empty silence of loneliness anymore. It's the peaceful silence of new beginnings. The championship game is everything high school football should be: crisp November air, packed stands, teenagers giving everything they have for 60 minutes of glory. Ben looks good in his new uniform, confident and focused in a way I haven't seen since Bradley disappeared. Natalie and I sit in the front row, her hand warm in mine, watching our sons play under the lights. The new coach is younger, more collaborative, focused on developing character along with athletic skills. The team is smaller this year. Several families transferred to other districts after the Bradley Vincent scandal broke. But the players who stayed seem happier, more relaxed. Number 47 just made a beautiful tackle, Natalie observes, pointing to her stepson Tommy Morrison. Jennifer remarried last month, and her new husband adopted the coaching philosophy that kids should play for fun, not parental validation. Ben's blocking has really improved, I note, watching my son clear a path for the running back. Turns out he didn't need private coaching sessions after all. Funny how that works. 6 months ago, we thought our lives were ending. Rachel's affair, Bradley's manipulation, the systematic destruction of trust that had taken years to build. The divorce proceedings were ugly, the custody arrangements complicated, the financial settlements painful for everyone involved. But sitting here tonight, watching Ben play football because he loves it rather than because his future depends on it, I realize we didn't lose our lives 6 months ago. We found them. "Any word from Dan about the Phoenix investigation?" Natalie asks. Bradley, Brandon, lasted 3 weeks at his new school before someone sent the administration a very detailed dossier about his history. I smile. Turns out his ex-wife from Oregon has been tracking him for years, building a case, waiting for the right moment to strike. Good for her. She contacted 5 other women from his previous schools. They're considering a civil suit. Think it will stick? With 6 victims across 3 states and a documented pattern of behavior, I'd say Brandon Vincent's coaching days are over. On the field, Ben breaks free for a 15-yard gain, and the crowd erupts in cheers. He looks toward the stands, finds us in the front row, and grins. Not the desperate, approval-seeking expression he used to wear, but the genuine happiness of a kid who knows his parents are proud of him regardless of the score. "He looks good," Natalie says. "He looks free." We all do. She's right. The past 6 months have been difficult. Divorce proceedings, therapy sessions, awkward conversations with Ben about trust and manipulation, and the difference between love and control. but they've also been liberating in ways I never expected. I'm living in a downtown apartment now, smaller than the suburban house, but somehow more comfortable. Natalie moved to a condo across town, close enough for shared custody arrangements, but far enough to establish her independence. We see each other twice a week for dinner, once a week for coffee, and every Friday for what we've started calling Survivors Group, just the two of us, talking through the ongoing process of rebuilding our lives. Colin? Yes? I've been thinking about something. What's that? When Ben graduates next year, when the custody arrangements are finalized and the divorce settlements are complete, what do you think about getting married? I turned to look at her, surprised by the question. Are you proposing to me, Natalie Vance? I'm suggesting that we've been through the worst possible test of a relationship: betrayal, divorce, public scandal, financial stress, and we're still here, still together, still happy. She squeezes my hand. Maybe we should make it official. What about taking things slow, not rushing into anything? Colin, we've been taking things slow for 6 months. We've been honest about everything, worked through our trust issues, built something real from the ground up. Natalie smiles. Besides, I want Rachel and Bradley to see us at every game next year. I want them to see what they lost. They'll both be at games. Rachel will be wherever Ben is playing. And Bradley, Brandon, whoever he is now, he'll probably try to come back eventually. Men like that always think they can return to their old hunting grounds. And you want them to see us together? I want them to see us happy. I want them to see that their betrayal didn't destroy us. It freed us to find something better. On the field, the game clock winds down toward halftime. Ben jogs toward the sideline with his teammates, sweaty and exhausted and completely alive. He waves at us again, and I wave back, thinking about second chances and new beginnings and the strange ways life sometimes works out. Yes, I tell Natalie. Yes, what? Yes, I'll marry you. When Ben graduates, when the dust settles, when we're both ready to stop being defined by what other people did to us. Good, because I already bought a ring. You what? Natalie pulls a small box from her purse. I figured if I was going to propose, I should do it properly. The ring is perfect, simple, elegant, nothing like the elaborate diamond Rachel used to wear. It represents something different, something built on honesty rather than illusion. Put it on, she says. Here, now, in front of everyone? Especially in front of everyone. Colin, I spent 8 years hiding who I really was, pretending to be the perfect coach's wife. I'm done hiding. I slip the ring onto her finger, and she kisses me as the crowd around us cheers for the halftime show. But I'm not thinking about football anymore. I'm thinking about trust and truth, and the courage it takes to start over at 40. So we're engaged, I say. We're engaged. Think anyone will be surprised? I think everyone's been waiting for us to figure out what they already knew. Which is? That we're perfect for each other. That we always were, we just needed Bradley and Rachel to get out of the way so we could see it. The second half begins, and we settle back to watch the game. Around us, other parents cheer for their sons, worry about college scholarships, plan post-game celebrations, normal concerns for normal families living normal lives. But Natalie and I aren't normal anymore. We're something different. Survivors who chose to build rather than retreat. Fighters who decided that the best revenge is living well. On the field, Ben scores a touchdown, and the crowd explodes in celebration. He looks toward the stands, finds us in the front row, and pumps his fist in triumph. Not because he needs our approval, but because he wants to share his joy with the people who love him. That's the difference, I realize. The difference between manipulation and love, between control and support, between what we had before and what we have now. Ready for the rest of our lives? Natalie asks. Ready. The game continues under the Friday night lights, and we sit in the front row holding hands, watching our children play and planning our future together. Behind us, The stands are full of families who don't know how lucky they are to have normal problems. In front of us, the field is full of kids who get to play football because they love it, not because their futures depend on it. And beside me, Natalie Vance, soon to be Natalie Tate, smiles like someone who's finally found her way home. The scoreboard shows the home team winning, but that's not the score that matters tonight. Tonight, the score is trust over betrayal, truth over lies, new beginnings over old endings. Tonight, we're all winners.